If the master does not want the student to be better than the master, are you truly a master then?
DJ Fresh in the house.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a moment where you thought, if I don't chase this now, I'm going to regret it?
If I want it badly enough, I'm going to get it.
Fresh, how are you actually doing?
Juggling a hell of a lot.
Did you have to let go of ego, comfort, fear when you started reinventing yourself?
I've often tried to leave ego out of a lot of things that I do.
Do we ever find peace?
I manage my peace.
What is success? What it's taken away quietly that we don't see on the outside?
Losing your privacy alone is a massive loss.
Yeah, I think people make the mistake with putting success and money together.
If you can pull off happiness and success without money then is going to be a beautiful thing in your life.
Happiness, you believe, is a choice.
Toxic positivity, it works for me.
Now, if this was your last conversation, what would you want to leave behind?
Love.
What's up, guys? We're back on the Endure Edge. And yes, we are still South Africa's #1 health and wellness podcast. Today, we're going to talk mental health, and I'm going to try and get into someone's brain and do a little chat with him that he's never had before. He needs no introduction. We have DJ Fresh in the house. Thank you.
How you doing?
Good. Welcome to the Endure Edge.
Thanks for having me here, bro.
I'm so excited for this.
Incredible work you're doing here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, something different.
Yeah. We try and touch on men's mental health, women's mental health.
Yes, sir.
We've had some great guests. Not as great as you today, so it's exciting.
No, man, I think we're all great in our own ways. So yeah.
Yeah, I spent some time looking at some other chats you've been on, some other podcasts, some of your own podcasts that you've got.
Yes, sir.
And I thought we need to make it different. We're not going to ask the same questions. So, yeah, let's see how it goes.
You know the weird thing is, I could get asked the same question 5 times. I'll give 5 different answers because I get bored of listening to the same answers coming out of my own mouth. So even if you ask questions I've been asked before, I've got an answer already. So.
You've got an answer already, and it's different.
It will be different, yes.
I am going to ask a question that's probably been asked before because I'm always intrigued and I don't know the answer to it. What's your earliest memory you have when you realize that music is not just going to be a hobby, it's going to be my life?
I think it's only in hindsight that I realize that I was doing this before I even knew what it was called. I'll give an example. I was with my folks about 2 years ago, and one of my dad's childhood friends had come to visit my parents. And he reminded me that whenever they'd visit my folks, I would make them listen to records from my dad's collection. So I'd literally sit by the gram and make them listen to my favorite songs. I think I was probably 4 or 5 years old at the time.
Wow.
And it's only when I look back that I've been jockeying discs since I was a child.
Yeah, since 4 years old.
Exactly. And then I look back to grade 3. Mrs. Jones was our class teacher. And normally end of term, end of year, there's not a lot of schoolwork. So Mrs. Jones on the last 2 days of term would allow us to sit on the little carpet and read our books or play card games or whatever else. And I remember at the end of second term in grade 3, I said to Mrs. Jones, may I please bring some of my music? Because she had a little tape recorder. So she'd play music in the background while we're reading or playing games. And I asked her if I could bring my music collection and play music for the class. And like I said, I've been doing this. It's just at some stage someone said, maybe I can pay you for this. So I've been at it, yeah.
Since young age, eh?
Yeah.
Did you ever have a moment where you thought, if I don't chase this now, I'm going to regret it?
Not really, hey? I've always been if I want it badly enough, I'm going to get it. And I rarely fail at hitting my goals, especially if my goals are passion-driven or if they are part of what feeds my why, then failure is not an option. Even moving to Johannesburg, January 1995, after failing out of law school twice. I did 2 years of law school. Okay. So I did first year twice.
Okay.
And the first time I was a fail and repeat. The second year, I made sure that I passed at failing. It was a fail and discontinue. And moving to Johannesburg, I remember my mom saying, please make sure it works, whatever it is you're chasing. Because they could see the law is not a thing I'm passionate about. And failure was never an option, bro. It was literally a one-way ticket to Johannesburg.
We're going to touch on that now.
Yeah.
That failure is not an option.
Yeah.
And I'm smiling. I'm not smiling because you failed law school. I'm smiling because yesterday my daughter actually moved into Tuks University and she's studying law. So, Reese, do not fail law school.
Oh, well done. Well done. And all the best, Reese. Listen, it's still an incredible course. It's just that I had music coursing through my veins. That's why. Yeah.
So, I'm going to get on to an important subject, mental health, men's mental health. Yesterday, last night I was at an event and someone I haven't seen for a while came up to me and he looked at me and he's like, Jacques, how are you actually doing?
Yes.
And I'm going to start with that today with you and go, Fresh, how are you actually doing? And the reason is, it's so easy for someone to come to you and go, hey, Fresh, how are you? Oh, I'm fine, good, how are you? But are we fine? Is everyone fine? It's become a thing just to go, I'm fine.
Yeah. In fact, often when people ask me how I'm doing, I ask them if they really want to know. And then I ask them if they have time.
Well, we've got time.
How am I doing? I am juggling a hell of a lot. As you may or may not know, lost my ex-wife, mom to my kids, a year and a half ago. And we've been parenting together for 20 years, 23 years. So I've literally gone from having a partner in parenting to being a solo parent. It's a lot of work.
Not
and
easy.
Often you only have a full appreciation of how much work the other parent was doing when you have to do all the parenting yourself. So I'm chasing my tail. It's a lot of work. But it's fulfilling because my kids are my passion, man. I mean, when my daughter was born, we fell pregnant when I was a year out of high school. And my then girlfriend, she was in matric. She was in the matric year when we fell pregnant. And for the record, we were careless only once. That's all it takes. Once.
Reese, listen.
Careless once, and we fell pregnant. Think of a balloon. All it takes is one prick. It's not about balloons.
That's a great analogy.
So, I mean, and I often say to my daughter that moving to Johannesburg when she was a year old, she became my reason to work and make sure I don't fail, to make sure that I provide. I mean, my dad-in-law, well, not my dad-in-law, but my daughter's grandfather, so my girlfriend's dad, he'll tell you that I've never once not showed up for my daughter. I was still a student. I mean, we were kids when we fell pregnant. But I can never once, no one can say to you, I asked them for money to look after my kids. Not even my parents. I made sure I provided for my kids.
Even at such a young age.
From an early age. So for me, showing up as a dad has been very important, even when I was still a child myself. I wasn't even 21, bro, when I was a parent. So I've always had my kids be my driving force. So the fact that now I'm raising kids on my own does not even feel like a burden. It literally just gives me even more purpose. Gives me more purpose to make sure I get done what gets done. So, I mean, for argument's sake, I mean, for instance, I just got off the radio right now and I came straight here. From here, it's school pickup. At school pickup, my boy has tennis, my daughter has dance, so I must pick her up, take her to dance, I must pick him up from school, take him to tennis. I could get an au pair for that. I could hire someone else to do it. But they're my kids, bro.
Yeah.
And if I can make the time and find the time, why the heck not?
Yeah.
So yes, the burden and the load is very heavy. I'm not going to lie. And often it becomes mentally heavy too, emotionally heavy, but it's fucking fulfilling.
Yeah, and I was actually, funny enough, it's amazing how the universe works.
Yeah.
This morning I went on a run with a friend and we had the same conversation because I've got a 6-year-old who's just gone to grade 1 and I was saying to him, yeah, see, Monday's cricket, Tuesday's cricket, Wednesday's this, Thursday's cricket match. Yeah. And I said, and at 7, they don't understand Daddy can't make it because he's got work or whatever. So you've got to be there.
And that's a conversation I have with all of my guy friends, that don't tell your kids you're going to do something with them if you're not going to do it. Because kids forget nothing. And those little souls, all they want is our time, bro. We think spending money, throwing money at them, buying them PlayStations and whatever else is what parenting is. They just want your time. And I think back to sometimes my dad would say he's going to the shop and I'd go for a ride with him in the car. That would be the coolest thing I did that day. Just being in the car with my dad for 30 minutes going to the shop and back. And I see it now with my son. I mean, yesterday I had a couple of errands to run and he insisted on tagging along with me. And for me, it's the time we spent together that was so invaluable. And often we think time is not enough. That's all they want, bro.
Yeah.
When you are on your deathbed and your kids are there with you, trust me, they're not going to remember the PlayStation like they are going to remember when you kicked a ball with them. So spend time with your kids.
Just
That's
take
all.
the time, man.
Just spend time with your
Even
kids.
even if it's 30 minutes. Eh?
And I'll even go a step further, because one thing I wish a lot of parents of kids like myself, born in the 70s, would have done was appreciate that every child is a separate human being, is a different human being, is their own. We're wired differently. And often parents have a one-fits-all approach to parenting. If you have 5 kids, you need 5 approaches to parenting, unfortunately. But for your average parent, we don't have enough time to get into the nuances of each child. So we kind of have a blanket approach to parenting. And for me, it's being intentional about finding out what each kid loves, hates, what their love language is, what their mom and dad language is, so that you raise them within that which tickles them. Because it might not work for the other kid, but often we don't pay attention to that. I'll even go a step further and say, if you can make the time, go out with each of your kids on solo dates and spend time with them. Because kids love attention.
Yeah.
If there's 2, 3, 4 other siblings, eventually one of them feels like I'm not getting enough attention. But if you can make time in your busy schedule and say Mondays are for my son, Tuesdays are for my other son, and just spend an hour having lunch, going for an ice cream, go for a walk. Spend time with your kids, bro.
I love that. That is beautiful.
That's the best thing you can do for their mental health. Because that's what's going to, the adults we are the kids we were.
Yes.
And often we're broken adults because the kid is still hurting that we left behind. You see, that's why for me it's important to try and have as complete a child in your wake as possible, so that they're not a damaged adult. I mean, damaged in obviously inverted commas.
How important is that actually to break the cycle? The cycle of us growing up with our parents.
Yes.
Because we try and break the cycles. We all try and break the cycle.
Yes.
But then the next thing you think and you sit and you go, geez, I'm my mother or I'm my father. I'm doing exactly what they did.
My attitude towards parenting is every bit of how I wish my parents had shown up for me is what I owe my children. And whether it's with time spent showing up I've never missed a sports day. I've never missed a single recital. I've never missed a single award ceremony. But then again, my career allows for me to do that. So I fully get it. Most parents don't have the luxury of a flexible timetable during the day. I was blessed with that. So often I'd be the only dad at a ballet recital. So it'll be me and moms. Or at the soccer, it will be me and a couple of moms. But I'm noticing now that, I guess because increasingly more and more men are in positions of influence and can take the day off if they need to, I'm starting to see more dads out at sports days, out at ballet recitals, piano recitals. But when I was a parent initially 22, 23 years ago, I was always the only dad. And my encouragement to you is take the time. That's all. You only have one chance to raise this child. Make it count.
Yeah, and we forget that.
And break that cycle. If that cycle is showing up for sports days, do that. If that cycle is, let me help with your homework, do that.
and remind yourself to break the cycle, because otherwise
Yes.
you're just going to get stuck into the old cycle.
Yeah.
So mental health and pressure.
Yes.
When pressure hits fresh, where does it hit first? The mind or the body?
Often it is the mind, because I like mapping things out in my mind, whether it's my day or the week or the month or the year. I almost think in timelines. So even my memory is almost like a linear scale, if you will.
Okay.
And everything slots in some way. So even with my day to day, I can literally have a mental picture of my day. So what my office does at 7 p.m. every day, they send me my diary for the next day. And so I'll take out my diary. So obviously it's in the diary, right?
Yes.
And then they'll also send, so February 3rd, 7:15, Lifika drop-off. Lifika is my son. He's at school, so his aunt drops him off. 8 a.m. 1D work. 1D is my 17-year-old. She just did finish her matric, so she's on a gap year. So she needs to be at work at 8. 11 a.m. Endure Edge podcast recording. 2:30 Lifika pickup. 4:30 Lifika tennis. 1800 1D dance. All of that lives here. So I read it once, and then I map it out. That keeps me sane. Because otherwise, then everything just is a mess. And as much as my office desk might be chaotic, mentally, I like to compartmentalize everything so that it fits somewhere, then it makes better sense. Then I'm less likely to drop balls if I know everything fits. So my diary is very important. So even when things are falling apart, having a schedule and a routine reminds you why you do the things you do.
Yeah, when things are falling apart, they're actually scheduled. It's there. There is something that's working.
Let me tell you right now, I always say to my gods or my God or the universe that if the shit is hitting the fan, it must wait in line. I still have shit to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I still have a day to plan. I still have kids to raise. So you must find a slot.
I'll get to you later.
I will deal with you when I need to deal with you. And that's been the approach that has kept me sane. So you'll never see me in a panic about anything. And often it frustrates my staff because sometimes they'll say they haven't hit targets for the month, whether it's with gigs or anything else. And they're in a panic, but I'm not.
Yeah, you're chilled.
Because for me, and I don't know who to thank for this. I don't know if it's God, the gods, my guardian angels, whatever it is you believe in, is working for me in making sure that even when the stuff is hitting the fan, I'm still moving. I still have the sanity to do what needs to get done. So I'm always about, yes, we have 10 problems. Can we find 10 solutions? Or can we find 8 solutions? The other 2 we'll deal with later. Or we have 10 problems. 2 of them are not of our making or we can't control them. We need 8 solutions. Let's find the solutions. So I'm that guy. And for my sins, sometimes it annoys people around me. Because often you come to a friend and say, I've got a problem, maybe just wanting an ear. I kick into, okay, let's fix it.
Yeah, let's go out and fix it.
Let's fix it. You know what I mean? So I'm that guy that always finds a way, always. And the motto I've lived by, or the saying I've lived by, is by Hannibal. We will find a way or make one. That's always been my attitude. That's why I don't fear new projects. I don't fear being the one that says, oh, are you all scared? I'm going to try it anyway. Because what's the worst that could happen? That's the worst that could happen. As long as it's not endangering your life, it's the worst that could happen. And the sooner you find out, the sooner you know that, okay, that didn't work. Oh, that was a bad idea. Now you know. Yeah. How else are you going to find out if you don't step up and try it? So because that's been my approach and my attitude, I don't stress, bro. I don't, especially if it's shit I'm not in control of. I don't stress.
So I've got a new name for you.
Yes, sir.
There's a guy called Charlie Rocket.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of him.
School me.
Charlie Rocket, oversized, overweight guy,
Okay.
dreamt that he was going to be a Nike athlete, did everything, and he became a Nike athlete.
Yes.
Long story short, there's a podcast of him, but he talks about, and he's got the Dreamer bus in America
Yes,
now
yes,
and all
yes,
of this.
yes.
And he calls himself a delusional optimist.
Yes.
And that's what you sound like, a delusional
I
optimist.
tell people all the time that I am probably the most eternally optimistic person I know. I'm the kind of guy that if I was to lose an arm, would be grateful I have another arm. And you know, some people call it toxic positivity. I just call it, that is how I get by, and I'm fine with it. If you want to label it, if that floats your boat, by all means, label it. But we only have one opportunity to live our lives, bro.
Yeah.
And I preach all the time that there's no amount of stuff I go through that'll ever make me feel like taking my life as an option. Because even when the chips are down, just waking up with your lungs full of air, dude, that's a blessing. Someone didn't wake up this morning. We're here. So we have an opportunity to try again. And that's how I approach everything, bro. My kids will tell you, they will never know if I'm stressing. If I tell them, it's because they asked, how are you? And then I'll ask them, do you really want to know? Then I'll tell them. But generally, nobody ever knows I'm going through stuff because unless it's your business, it's none of your business. You know, I deal with it, bro. Just deal with it.
On that note, what is the hardest mental battle you had to fight quietly?
I don't know if I've fought a hard mental battle per se, but I think the most tormented I've been was 2005. I had contract negotiations with the SABC to join 5FM. I was at YFM, and then I resigned from YFM, but my contract at Y expired end of June, which meant that April, May, June, I had to go on gardening leave. So between YFM and 5FM, I had a 3-month period of zero routine, zero employment. YFM are paying me to stay home and to stay off the radio. But also at the time, there was no social media. So the big news broke on Biz Community. I think Biz Community was they probably had the biggest blog under all the articles about the industry. And there was a massive debate about my moving to 5FM. And as things do, it also turned very racial. That, just affirmative action, just another darkie, going to 5FM that probably doesn't deserve the job. So it became that for 3 months nonstop. So for those 3 months, I went through periods of feeling like maybe it's a bad idea. Do you know that in those 3 months, every single day I had a dream. I woke up from a dream that I'd gone to 5FM and I messed it all up. Every single day. And the self-doubt was sometimes debilitating. There were days I didn't want to get out of bed. There are days I'd wake up and say, maybe I made a mistake. I must go back to YFM. Maybe I need to go to Metro, like some people are saying I should have gone. But I also remembered that I've come this far as my own cheerleader. Why do I need other voices to affirm me all of a sudden? I came this far because I had the audacity to believe I can do this. So I started turning those voices off in my head and reminding myself that I've come this far because I kick ass at what I do. And the only person that can fuck it up is me. No one else is going to tell me about me. You know what I mean? So it was a tough period, though. I'm not going to lie. It was a very tough period. And also because I'm a typical guy, I don't talk about my problems. I discussed it with nobody. I just watched the debates. Some of the naysayers or even people in the industry I thought were in my corner. You know what I mean? So I had to deal with that for 3 months. It was borderline traumatic, but I'm glad it happened because it put fire up my ass to say, you can't mess this up. Go there and kick ass. And that's what I did.
You made a comment now, you're a typical guy.
Yes.
Didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Do you think men are taught to survive rather than taught to yell?
And the funny thing about society is we say men are taught this and men are taught that. And sometimes it's just socialization around you, even from women, not just from other men, about how a man is meant to behave or respond to certain things, or to provide or not to cry. So it's almost a societal, subconscious socialization. Because if I look back, I can never say anybody taught me this. But if I zoom out, I can say society generally conspires for men or boys to go in a certain direction and for girls to go in a certain direction. And a lot of it is now up to us as parents to try and change that. So, for instance, one way that I'm trying to change that is my 10-year-old son sees me doing the dishes, making my bed, so that he understands that this is not a job for girls or for auntie to come and make your bed.
Yeah.
It's a life skill. If you don't eat, you're going to die. So learn how to cook. It's not a gender role. So those are the little things I'm trying to do in my little corner of the world with my kids, for them to understand that our gender roles are two: for me to provide sperm and for you to carry the child. Everything else we all need to learn. If I had ovaries, I'd fucking deliver a baby for her, but I don't. You know what I mean? But everything else, I think it's important to teach our kids that learn everything. If anything, so that the day you marry someone that says, listen, baby, you go to work, I'll stay at home and I'll take care of things. The day you divorce, you're useless. You don't know what to do. You don't even know where the pots are. Learn everything. It works with companies. The CEOs that have gone through the ranks, more often than not, know every nook and cranny of the company. Your marriage is a company. Your relationships are a company. Why do we go to school for so many of these other things, but we don't educate ourselves about our own lives, about our relationships, about how to relate to other people? It doesn't make sense. We blow millions learning other things, but we'll never read a book about how to be a better person. Please make that make sense.
Yeah, I actually even sometimes don't even think books work, to be honest.
Exactly. But a mind that is curious to learn
Will learn.
the other way of doing things, what other opinions say, will learn and will unlearn certain things. And sadly, and I guess that's why there's so much cognitive dissonance with a lot of our lives, that all you've known is this. There's new data that says this is bollocks.
Yes.
But you still gravitate back here. Even with the new data that says everything you've ever believed about whether it's parenting or about women or about men is wrong. Because this is all I've known, I will always gravitate back here.
Breaking that cycle.
Hence the cognitive dissonance we live with. I mean, I'll give you a simple example. I mean, people who are fanatical about whether it's politicians or superstars, their heroes can do no wrong. I mean, you look at what's happening with the Epstein files.
We're giggling about that now, actually.
And the more than 1,000 times that Donald Trump has appeared in the Epstein's files, his diehard fans think it's bullshit. They think it's fake news.
Now he wants to sue poor old Trevor Noah.
Yes. And unfortunately, a lot of what he does is a distraction from what the real issues are.
What the truth is.
It often is just it's a deflection. And my challenge to all of us is, let's unlearn what we need to unlearn, and let's learn new things, and let's try and be better people for ourselves, actually.
Also, just be kind out there.
Dude, that's
like, it's so simple. Well,
Yeah.
it actually sounds so simple, but is it?
Yeah. You know what it is? I think not everyone is taught empathy or wants to be empathetic. In fact, for some people, empathy is weakness. That why should I care that you haven't had food? You know, whereas for me, I was raised around empathy. And that is why everything I do is often wrapped in a veil of empathy. Even if I don't like you, I will still wish well for you, because the world is a better place if the puss stops being a puss.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll still pray for you to stop being a puss, because in the bigger scheme of things, the collective needs for you to be less of a puss and to be a nicer person.
For sure.
You know, there's a famous quote by Oprah Winfrey: "Don't be cuck, be like." If we all practice that, the world will be a better place.
Yeah.
But because we're selfish, everything is me, me, me. We don't care. That's why we drive shit. I don't care how I impacted you back there. That's why you don't bat an eyelid seeing people starving, seeing kids starving, and your fridge has doggy bags for the week going bad in your fridge. We generally are self-centered and we don't care. And for me, it's how do we unlearn that? How do we remind our kids that, as the cliche goes, you're meant to be your brother's keeper. We're part of a collective, guys, but we've stopped believing that. We've stopped caring about other people. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Well, a way to unlearn it is people like you talking about it, celebrities talking about it, if you want to call it that. I don't like that word.
Yeah, I hate that word.
Influential people talking about it. And not just talk, walking it too.
You know what I've realized, and I remind myself of this all the time, that after all is said and done, we're part of the animal kingdom. And more human beings are refusing to engage their brain power and instead allowing the animal instincts to kick in, where it's about me and no one else, where I don't care about you. I don't care that you might die. That's how animals behave in the wild.
Yeah.
And the world is becoming that. Fast becoming that.
And it's sad. And I think we can sit and chat and we'll never get the answer to it.
Yeah.
Unless everyone decides to change and start somewhere. And something small. Like you say, drive decently.
Hence I'm saying that for me, it starts with my tribe. Am I a positive influence on my tribe? My tribe is my immediate family, my immediate friends. Am I a positive person in their lives? If I'm not, then I'm part of the problem.
And it's just going to be a cycle.
And am I encouraging them to do right by other people, to be kind, to be a bit kinder? You know? And it doesn't help that politicians generally are also me centered. They don't care either.
Yeah.
You're literally on your own, bro. So I also don't blame people who've become self-centered because you are on your own. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get onto a little bit of entrepreneurship.
Yes, sir.
And reinventing yourself after all the radio channels and stations, whatever you want to call them, etc. Did you have to let go of ego, comfort, fear when you started reinventing yourself and going into things by yourself?
I've often tried to leave ego out of a lot of things that I do. That is why I've mentored as many kids as I have. That's why I've mentored as many DJs as I have. You know, whether you're talking Euphonic, Kent, Cleo, DJ Spoo, the list goes on. Literally
taking me back now.
literally over 1,000 DJs I can confidently say I've mentored in one way or another. Likewise with musicians and artists and business people. You can't have your ego with you when you want to bring other people with you. Because your ego will always say, but what if they're better than you? What if they take your job? My approach in life is, I want you to be better than me. Why would I mentor you not to be better than me? What am I doing? You know what I mean? So for me, if the master does not want the student to be better than the master, are you truly a master then? Because all you've done is replicate mediocrity. So I leave ego out of everything I do. In fact, instead what I do, I look at mentorship as an opportunity for me to probably learn more from the student than the student will probably ever learn from me. Because most students are bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, but they've got massive ideas. Half of them are crazy. But that's where things change, in the realm of it's crazy. That's probably why it worked, because it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's the measured things that often have us not even flipping start in the first place. Or they're so measured at the point where things were going to change, we stopped because we're measured. So for me, leaving ego out of everything I do and letting other people into the room with me allows for me to be in the company of other minds, younger minds. They see the world differently. I might have a jaded point of view on certain things. They don't. Maybe because they're naive, maybe because they haven't fallen as many times that I have, that they're willing to run faster. If you don't have people like that around you, I think you're starting to die within said industry. But as long as you're bringing people in, you'll always have a new lease. You'll always have a different point of view, a different perspective.
And there's growth.
There's growth. You can't not grow when mentoring people. You can't. Unfortunately, in our industry, a lot of people are selfish and a lot of people are, looking for the right word. The self-esteem levels are almost at a, I don't even know how I got this far myself. So if I let anyone else in here, I might expose myself. Or this person might take my job, or they might be better than me. A lot of people approach life from that point of view, from that fear of scarcity, from that fear of the pie will run out if I share the pie. But if you share the pie, now other people know that there's nice pie and they want to go make pie themselves.
Yeah.
They're going to have even more pie, is how I approach life. That's why I always tell people I will never not gig in this industry. I've opened enough doors, built enough bridges, and built enough goodwill to make sure that I never stop gigging or that I'll go hungry one day. I can say that without a shadow of a doubt. I can say that confidently, that I've built enough bridges and enough goodwill to make sure that I'll never starve. And that is important. And you can't do that with ego in your way.
How did you become so wise? It had to come from somewhere.
You know what it is? I think a lot of it is great parents. I'm not going to take anything away from my parents. I think my parents were incredible. They were business people, so they were often very busy. So we were shipped off to boarding school with my siblings. I always lament the fact that I've never lived with any of my siblings in the same house for more than 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks.
Okay.
So our relationship is not as solid as it ought to be. But I mean, I was shipped off to boarding school at the age of 12. My sister, who's 6 years younger than me, high school, she was shipped off. My brother, who is 12 years younger than me, when he was 6 years old, he asked to go to boarding school because our parents were so busy. So they sent us to good schools because they were always busy. And the downside of that is I did not learn as much as I could from them as I wish I had because they were busy. They were busy eking out a decent living for all of us.
Yeah.
So they can send us to good schools and at least give us a fighting chance in this world. So, but having said that, I learned a lot from my parents. I think my parents were good people. They are good people. They're still alive. And I learned a lot from watching them and how they related to people. Like my mom's kindness is my kindness. My mom's ability to be empathetic, even to people that have done it wrong. It's a part of me feels it's a semi-weakness, but it's also a superpower. To be able to,
It takes a lot.
to be able to be kind to someone who did you wrong. I'll give you an example. So I was born and raised in Gaborone in Botswana. And we had a supermarket. We had a shop, a Middle Star supermarket. And at the time, I think it was around 1983, 82, 83, there was a skelm, a robber, Sipho Sithole was his name, South African dude who came to Bots and was robbing shops at gunpoint, at knife point, and he became like the serial terror in our city.
Wow.
And one night, I think I was in grade 5, I realized that mom hadn't come home from work because she closed the shop at 8. By 9, she's home, and then I can go to bed. And I remember by 10, mom still hadn't come back. And then she finally arrived with my dad, and she had stitches on her hand, and she had also she had a bandage here. And so this Sipho Sithole guy had held up my mom and the staff at the shop when they were closing at 8. And he was demanding money, and apparently he had a massive panga. So he tried to stab my mom and then she put her hand up. So the panga went
Okay.
through her hand. And then the second time, it literally, apparently, had it moved an inch left or right, it would have been tickets. But literally stabbed her in the neck, and got her to hospital, and she was patched up, and everything was fine. And eventually, dude was caught. I'm trying to remember if he was sentenced to death, because I know I can't remember if he was sentenced to death.
Yeah, Botswana don't play with those things. Still today, actually.
But the week my mom was arranging to go to prison to tell him that she had forgiven him because she felt he was a victim of his environment.
Wow.
And that he was not the person he was because he had nothing better to do. She believed firmly that it was a product of his environment, and that's why he'd become the guy he had become. She was getting ready to go to prison to go and tell him that I have forgiven you. And the prison officials said that he had died. Like I said, we're kids, so I'm trying to remember if he was executed or if he just died in prison. So those are the levels of empathy that my mom has.
Yeah.
And I inherited all of that shit.
I'm going to say it's a superpower.
No, it is.
And the reason I say it's a superpower is because it takes a special person to be like that. I mean, the hatred you would get for a person that's done that to you.
Can I tell you why I think it's a brilliant way to approach things? It gives you peace.
I was going to say, you never hold grudges.
Peace is very underrated. And often people will ask you, are you happy, amongst other things? Nobody ever asks you if you are at peace, if you found peace. And for me, that's all I want. I just want peace. And that is why I curate my life in such a way that I can manage the peace around me. I can manage the people around me. The people around me even know that even if there's a negative social media post about me, don't send it to me. I don't want to know. You know what I mean? Because I manage my peace.
Do we ever find peace?
It's worth dying having tried. Because along the way, you are shedding all the things that don't give you peace. So it's a lifelong struggle, peace. But it's worth fighting for, especially your own peace. See, so that is why I'll never stop wanting peace. And part of finding the peace is linked directly to your ability to accept certain things. Because acceptance in itself is a superpower. Because we live our lives in the hope that certain things will change or certain people will change. But finding peace also means accepting that maybe my partner is an asshole. Let me find a way of dealing with the environment I'm in versus fighting the environment or trying to change the environment. Because now he's out there being an asshole, you don't have peace. But if you accept that my dad is not a nice person, it's still my dad, but he's not a nice person. The sooner you can accept that dad is not a nice person, but he's my dad and I love him, but maybe I'll love him from far. You start finding the peace. But you have to learn how to accept things first. And that in itself is a journey. Because we live in denial even about ourselves.
Yes.
Sometimes we think we're damn good at what we do, but we're just mediocre. And the sooner you accept that this is who you are, how do you best operate as who you are versus the jaded perceptions of self, the more at peace you'll be, because now you're not chasing this elusive thing, because it never existed. It was in your head.
Does any of it exist? That's another podcast. I need to quickly change the book into 3 hours.
So those are some of the ways I've managed my mental health. Acceptance, putting a premium on peace, my being at peace, my being able to be peace to other people, especially my kids and friends and family.
Fresh, you have been very successful.
Yeah.
And success is another word that
It's relative, but yeah.
can take away peace.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. It takes it away immediately.
That's my question. What is success? How have you managed that? What it's taken away quietly that we don't see on the outside?
I think losing your privacy alone is a massive loss. And I realized that, oh shit, here we go. So I moved to Joburg 95. So 95, 96, 97, I was studying media studies through Boston Media House and Rand Afrikaans University. So I actually have a RAW qualification. And 97, October, I started working at YFM, doing the drive show. A month later, I'm invited to co-host Studio Mix on SABC One. It was a music show at 9 p.m. on a Friday. And I was a guest once. And I remember Saturday morning walking along Empire Road. I used to work out at a gym in Hillbrow. I'm walking on Empire Road, and already people recognized me just from seeing me on TV once the night before. So they'd heard me on the radio for about a month or two on YFM, but obviously they didn't know the face. Now they've seen me on the TV, and on my way to the gym, I was stopped by about 6 people. Said, "Was on TV last night?" Or now we know who you are from the radio. Now we've seen it. That's when I realized that, fuck, okay, there goes the privacy. So that's one thing you lose very fast. And my argument always is, don't do things that are going to have people fall in love with who you are and how you do said things if you can't deal with that tension you're going to get for it. People don't choose to fall in love with you or how you do things. You made it happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You chose to be good at something, great at something, maybe even bad at something for all we care. And as a result, you have a fan base. You have people who look up to you. You have people who I just want a picture. So your privacy is gone, bro. I mean, I was reading a post on social media. There was a massive debate. Nasty C saying that he can't go to church anymore because all he wants to do is praise and worship at church, but people want pictures. And that's the sad flip side of the coin of fame, that you have to forego certain things. So if you can't find a church that is celebrity-based and with people like you, you have to deal with that tension you're going to get.
Yeah, it's the reality you created.
It's the reality. The only time I'll say no thanks to a picture is if I'm busy eating with my kids. And often I'll say nicely, can we do this when I'm done having dinner with my kids? Over and above that, if you want a picture, we'll take a picture. If you want us to have a quick chat, we'll have a flipping quick chat. Because it's not your fault that you like me, it's my fault.
Yeah.
So I must take responsibility. And taking responsibility is making time for those people. Taking responsibility is acknowledging those people. You know, there's a Zulu, in isiZulu, greeting sawubona means I see you. And one of the bases of Africanness is the ability to see the other person. I see you, I acknowledge you. You can't be in this industry and not see people. And then complain that I don't have privacy anymore. Then go be an accountant.
You could be a lawyer.
or put on a mask and do this anonymously.
Yeah.
You know?
That's worked for some people too.
You can be Daft Punk. You can be Dead Mouse. But don't make people fall in love with you and then treat them like shit. It's not nice.
What version of success do you think is broken today?
Version of success that is broken today. I just think looking at the conspicuous consumption that you are seeing on social media, where people think because I'm posting my G-Wagon and popping bottles and I'm hanging out with beautiful girls and models, I don't even know if that's success. I don't even know if that's success. I think for me, success is I had a good day. My kids had food in their mouths. I also had a belly full of food and I made someone smile. If you can do that every day, rinse and repeat every day, I think you're halfway successful, if not successful. So for me, that's what it is. Everything else is a nice to have. You know, there was a time where I was driving like tons of cars that I had no business driving because I didn't know better. But now that I have grown up, if you will, I don't care about cars. You know what I mean? For me, success is how many lives can I change? How can I affect change in people's lives? How can I meaningfully impact people? How can I remind people that it's going to be okay? If I can just do that for one person every single day, then I'm very successful.
Yeah.
And that's part of my why. My why is, am I changing lives? Am I changing enough lives? Am I impacting people? And that will never change, whether I'm famous or not, whether I'm in the limelight or not. I will always look for where else am I needed? Where else can I make a difference?
Yeah, I think people make the mistake with putting success and money together.
Yeah.
And the amount of money you got.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, is money actually a trap?
Money is dope. I mean, make no mistake. Money is dope and it's nice to have.
But if it's used for the right tool, if you use it as the correct tool.
Yeah. It gives you options. It allows you to be miserable in a spaceship versus, in a shack. It's a nice enabler, money. But if you can pull off happiness and success without money, then is going to be a beautiful thing in your life. And
it will come easier.
Yes.
It'll definitely come easier. I've learned that the hard way too.
And it might sound like something like what Buddha or Confucius would say, but if you can find contentment in the very little that you have and make the most of the little that you have and still manage to eke out an existence of sorts. And like I said, if your kids are fed and you are fed and you have a roof over your head, you have a head start over 98% of the planet.
Okay, let's get into this wisdom and the discipline and the growth that you've got, that you've gained. Daily habits that protect your mental health. When you wake, take us through your day.
When I wake up, the first thing I do is I pray and I give thanks. It's almost more of a meditation, because for me, prayer is internal, not external. I don't know that I can pray for doors to open, but I can pray for myself to have the wisdom to make the door open. So I treat prayer as meditation. I treat prayer as a pep talk with myself about where I'm going today. But I'll also still give thanks to my Creator that flip another opportunity to do this. I might have zero money in my bank account, but I have a day ahead of me that could change that. So I see things from that point of view, that I have an opportunity to try again. I have an opportunity to kick ass. I have an opportunity to hopefully change how someone views themselves or how they view the world or how they feel about ending it all. Because in our line of work, we have that privilege also of helping people that are sick and tired of being sick and tired and are sick and tired of living. And it's something you might say on the radio, something you might post on social media, a song you might play in a club that is the difference for that person. So I give thanks for all of that. And I remind myself that I'm going to have a kick-ass day, and then I choose to be happy. It's the first thing I do when I wake up.
Happiness, you believe, is a choice.
I choose to be happy, bro. Like I've said to you before, I could lose my arm right now. I'll be fucking happy I have another arm. There's someone out there without both arms. So I repeat, you can call me toxic, toxic positivity. It works for me. Find what works for you. So yeah, I do that, and I got back on radio in July. But then I get ready for the day, I get to work, I do radio. Radio for me is another form of healing, not only for myself, but for listeners. Because radio is a companion that can never be replicated. It's all good that there's dope podcasts out there, and there's incredibly, incredibly dope podcasts out there, but the companionship of radio will be unrivaled for a very long time. So I don't take it for granted that I'm part of that cohort that gets to take you to work every morning. Come on, dude. How many people get to do that? You know what I mean? How many people get to say, I want to play one song today that's going to change someone's life?
And I agree with you, because the one thing, and I've never been on radio, but the one thing I wish I could change about what I'm doing here is speaking to someone, listening to it.
Immediate feedback.
Yeah, you don't have that.
Exactly.
Calling tell me what you thought about what Fresh just said. Like,
I mean, I'll give you an example. We dropped Fresh House Flavor compilation series from about 98, but you don't get a lot of feedback, as it were. It's just people who might have bought the cassette or bought the CD. And then there was a time I'm walking through Cresta. And remember, I'm at YFM at the time. YFM is a predominantly, whom we're targeting were black youth, mainly township. So in my mind, I have no idea the level at which I've crossed over and how many white kids are listening to me. And I dropped Fresh House Flavor 4, June 18, 2000 is when we dropped it. And one day I'm walking in Cresta Shopping Center and a white girl comes up to me and she starts crying. And this just speaks to the feedback you're talking about. And she told me about how she spent, I think it was 3 months in rehab. And all she listened to every single day was Fresh House Flavor 4. And how it kept her sane. And how she did not once even think of relapsing because this music, this continuous mix, just kept her sane. And that's the feedback sometimes you need.
Yeah.
And sometimes all you need is that feedback from one person, just to encourage you to keep at it. And unfortunately, because we are ego-driven, we think feedback should be 1 million people.
Yeah.
We think that 3 people liking your picture, that means nobody likes your picture. Often the damn swines see the picture, they just don't click like.
Yeah.
But they've seen it. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there, put your music out there, post the picture, post whatever you're thinking. They might not interact with it, but they see it. And for me, if we were not so obsessed with feedback, we'd probably do more. But often we hold ourselves back because we're not getting the immediate feedback. So even the work you're doing incredible work. You might not get feedback immediately or instantly, but we see the work you're doing. I'm here because I love the work you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
If I thought you were shit, I would have probably not even responded to your DM.
Thank you. You're making me blush here. That's not where the question was
going. So my day is always, how am I going to not only make sure my kids have a fantastic day, that I'm going to have a fantastic day, and that I'm going to make a difference in someone else's life. Because that's always been my why. My why has always been, but did I make a difference in someone's life today? And that is why I love the mediums, the media that I'm a part of, whether it's the podcast or radio or TV or even DJing. We underestimate the power of a DJ set. I've played DJ sets where people have stood in the front row and cried because of a song. The song carried them somewhere, reminded them of something, or held their hand through whatever they're going through at that point. That's how blessed we are in the industry that we're in. And I think it's for that reason that I approach life the way I do. I understand, one, the gift I have, but also the massive responsibility that comes with it. That's why for me it's important for there to be continuity all the time. That's why it's important for me for there to be evolution if I need to evolve. If you need to change something, you do it.
It's powerful.
Thank you, brother.
It's powerful. You said something else, and maybe I heard incorrectly. Mm-hmm. You're back on radio in July.
This past July, 938.
Okay, yes, your own. Sorry, yeah. I thought with the past July, I'm thinking there's something else coming up this July.
No. So I was saying that since July.
Damn, I thought we were going to drop some news here.
There is news that is coming, though. When does this go out?
This will probably go out in about 3-4 weeks' time.
In 3-4 weeks, all things being equal, there'd be new news about something else.
Okay, awesome. We'll just drop that little piece.
I don't want to say too much. In case
you don't have to.
I'm not going to jinx it because I think it's a solid thing that's about to happen. But
I don't believe in that word, eh?
What?
Jinxing it.
Hence I'm saying that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I believe you should tell everyone because then it will happen. It's out there. You've got no choice. You're accountable. It has to happen.
Absolutely.
Were there any beliefs that you're to let go of to learn to grow through all this whole process?
If there's anything I unlearned gradually but eventually, was that asking for help is not weakness. Because I went to boarding school, in boarding school you look out for yourself. Yes, there'll be one or two older kids who might have your back. I mean, my cousin was at my boarding school. He was a year or two ahead of me. So I knew he had my back. But in the main, you're on your own. So you learn to fend for yourself. You learn to look after yourself. And as much as there's a brotherhood, often it's not necessarily a brotherhood that you can turn to any of them and say, but I've got the situation. And if you do, it's often superficial, not necessarily deep, emotional stuff. So, and from boarding school, I went to university, and then I packed my bags and moved to Johannesburg. So I've always been I will figure it out kind of person. And figuring it out often means not asking for help, even when you need it. So I've had to unlearn that. I've had to unlearn not trusting anyone enough that I can confide in them. Obviously, I'll carefully curate exactly how I share whatever the issue is with you. But yeah, I'm learning to just let go, man. And if I need something, I've learned to say, listen, dude, I've opened this door and there might be an issue with the door. Do you perhaps have a spare key? Or do you have another key? Or do you have another way we can deal with this door together? So I'm in that era of my life where I don't mind asking for help, or I don't mind saying, I need help, I need to talk to someone. So yeah. So for instance, going for therapy to deal with, I'm a very patient person. I take my time with majority of people, but I went through a stage where I was very impatient with close friends and family. So I can have all the patience in the world for everyone else, but with friends and family, I almost held them to a different standard and had almost next to impossible standards for them. And then I realized the unfairness of it when I looked back at what I expected of my kids or my wife or my siblings. And I was also quick to anger with them than with anyone else. And, we had to sit down with my wife, and she said it was a concern, because she doesn't want a situation where my kids are scared of me one day. And there's a saying, don't be the dad that when you come home from work, the minute you sit down in the TV room, the room clears out. Don't be that dad. You must be the dad that I come home, I sit down in the TV room, and everyone stays put. Often that measures a lot about how your kids and your wife or anyone else in the family perceive you. But we don't actually pay attention to such things. Or we think, okay, I'm home, I'm in the living room, everyone is now busy with things they need to be busy with. They were not busy when you got home. But now they've left the room. Maybe you need to look in the mirror. Why do they leave the room when you walk in? Maybe you're the problem. Maybe you are an unintentional monster in the lives of the people you love, because you mean well. You hold them to certain standards. You might shout once in a while. But in their eyes, you've now become this ogre that is never happy, is always hungry. Feed me, feed me, feed me. And you don't want to have that relationship with your family. So that is the fear I had. And that's why I went and I went for counseling to deal with my anger, so that I can be slower to anger, be more patient, and give my kids and my friends and family more grace. And even with that, I found peace.
So you're not against therapy? For other men out there listening, it's not a weakness.
Listen, dude, the more therapy, the better. I would even go as far as saying, if you can find a band of brothers that you can rely on that are going through the same shit you're going through, do that.
So just on that note, and someone asked me the other day, and I actually didn't have the answer.
So you're going to pass it to me?
Yeah, all this wisdom, please.
Feels like a hot potato. Hopefully I can hang on to it.
I'm sure you are. What you've said today, you're going to hang on to this one. So I said to him, find people that are going through the same stuff as you. And he's like, but what happens if that just creates more negativity in his life, where it's complain, because everyone's going through the same shit?
The thing is, if there's 100 guys going through the same shit, there are those who are still in denial about it. There'll be a pocket of those that realize that a pity party is going to get me nothing. There's a famous saying, the pity party is beautiful. It numbs you. You're in heaven. It's like morphine. But the minute the morphine runs out, the pain is not left. You're still in the same spot. So there are those going through that pity party. There are those that have accepted that, okay, I need to stop pitying myself. I need to actually do something because there's another saying, nothing changes if nothing changes. There are those who are at that stage. And then there are those who've moved to the next level. So it's finding guys that are at the level that you are at so that you're not pulling each other into this abyss of darkness and misery. And unfortunately, often it will be, a hit and miss. I might hit, I might miss. But do you stop trying? No, you don't stop trying.
And also, I think trust. I'd say to make sure you trust the people that you're around.
And failing which, then if you can afford therapy, find therapy. There are also there are a lot of forums online for people who are going through exactly what you're going through. There are people who think my nose is too big. There's the forum for that. There's
Well, what's that address?
Well, let's start one. All I'm saying is the internet, as much as the internet has become this dark, evil place more often than not, there are still pockets of good things happening on the internet.
You can use it in the correct way.
Find your tribe. There's a tribe out there with your name on it. There's a table waiting for you. But don't stop looking for help. Don't stop wanting to be a better person, especially if you have kids. Because the one thing we owe our children is they must experience the very best of us.
Say that again. They must experience the very best of us.
And often we expect them to want to be better people.
Correct.
But we do nothing about who we are because we think, I'm your parent, what do you know? But
and over and above your partner too, your husband or your wife.
So are you evolving at the level you expect your kids to evolve at so that you're growing together, so that they experience you as a different person? There's another thing I always remind my friends who have more than one child, that you need to remember that your firstborn experienced a different you to your thirdborn. Chances are your thirdborn is experiencing you calmer. You've settled in a bit. You know who you are. Maybe you've paid off your house already. You know what I mean? You've lived life a bit. But your firstborn might have experienced a terrible you because you were young. You don't know what you're doing. You're feeling your way in the dark. You're hardly home because you're hustling so that by the time you get to the third child, life is a bit easier. So what you owe all of your kids is the best version of yourself in every stage that you're going through. So that by the time you get your thirdborn, your firstborn can even see the growth themselves and understand that you were also growing. It's not that you were a horrible person. You just held them to a different standard. And where you feel you might have done wrong, meaning well, apologize. I've had this conversation with my son. My son is 23, and I used to be hard on him. I used to hold him to an insanely, almost impossible standard.
I'm that dad currently.
Because I expected so much from him. And I started cutting him a bit of slack when I started comparing what he was doing at his age versus what I was doing when I was the same age. I was a terrible child. And that's when I started cutting him a bit of slack, when I started realizing that he is me when I was the same age. And in fact, he's a diluted version of me. By the time I was 11, 12, I was stealing the car, going on joyrides with my friends. You know what I mean? I was in clubs already. The first time I went to a nightclub, yes, it was a matinee, like a teenage session. I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't drink. I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. The first time I had alcohol, I was 21.
Okay.
But I was not a desirable child to any parent. And when I reflected on that, I realized that I'm lucky to have the son that I do.
Yeah, I think I've got some reflection to do. You've opened my eyes right now. Never mind anyone listening.
Yeah. So I had the conversation with him and I apologized. That, in fact, both me and his mom apologized to him. That we were so busy chasing our own careers because we literally fell pregnant. We moved in together, fell pregnant, lobola, marriage, all in the same year. So we were busy with our careers, life is happening, And in hindsight, I feel like we neglected him, that we could have been better, more present parents, but we weren't. But it's a conversation we've had with him so that he understands where we were at the stage, and we apologize.
Communication, even if it's just with your kids, can get you so far. Yeah.
We apologized. We even offered all the kids, even like for our divorce, we agreed that we're going to divorce with love. It's not going to be an acrimonious divorce, because anything that happens with our divorce affects the kids. So everything that we've done was always from a point of, what about the kids? So we separated for 3-4 years before the divorce, but we lived under the same roof because we were not fighting. Because we agreed we're going to do everything with love.
Yeah.
And we went for family counseling. The kids also had their own counseling so that we can all be on the same page in terms of what's going to happen next, what it means, and everything else. So as much as, yes, there was a divorce, it happened with love. I remember my daughter when she was, 13, 14? Her friends' parents were also going through a divorce, but it was a totally different kettle of fish what her friend was dealing with. So she was almost confused because she thought a divorce meant we hate each other, we're fighting. But we were cool. We're having dinner with the kids. We're having once a week going out with the kids. And for me, that's ultimately how I want to do everything I do. Will it benefit my kids? Yeah. Even the divorce. How can we divorce in a way that benefits the kids? Because the divorce doesn't break the kids. It's how mom and dad treating each other affects the kids. It's not the divorce. So you could break your kids in the marriage.
And listen, I realized my kids were small when I got divorced, but I realize now the trauma that is on them from even what's going on now. Yes. So I'm to blame too. Yeah. And you forget about the kids.
And these are conversations you need to have with the kids. And sometimes they won't be quick to open up about how they truly feel. And that's where you bring in an expert to have a word with the kids. If it's counseling, let there be counseling. You know, my daughter does counseling at least once a month, just for a check-in to see how she's doing. And I encourage it. I want her to do it. So that
even if she's doing well, then tell the counselor that.
In fact, it's when you are thriving that you must check in with your counselor so that they know exactly what you look like when you're thriving.
I love that.
That is always the goal when you're not thriving.
Yes, I love that.
It's like prayer. Don't wait until you're in shit and then pray. You must pray that you're not in shit.
Yeah. No, actually, that I love that. Fresh, we're running out of time, and I've got bad news for you.
Yes, sir.
You're going to be back on this podcast because there's so much we can talk about.
Bro, if you want, I'm back every 3 months, bro.
Done. You guys have heard this. I've got it recorded. Done.
Every 3 months I can be back.
Done. It's a deal. We will knuckle on that. It's a deal.
Anything that can help even just one person reframe how they think.
Thank you for that.
Coach put me on.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you one last question. Yes, if this was your last conversation, what would you want to leave behind?
Love. Yeah. I think we've forgotten how to do things with love. And my divorce actually reminded me that we can disagree respectfully and with love. We can pull each other's hair out with love. And hopefully no gag ball, because then with a gag ball, how do you say the safe word? Story for another day.
Different podcast.
But yeah, man, just love, man. Let's remember to love each other. My male friends will tell you every time we're talking or we're together, I tell them I love them. I'm at a stage where I've converted probably 90% of the men that I interact with. Because often I'd tell them, my dude, I love you, don't forget I love you. And it'd be awkward.
Yeah.
Or it would be...
I've seen it with my mates too.
Yeah, or it would be, yeah, man, nothing but love for you. And I was like, no, I love you, my dude, remember that. And to see guys evolving and warming up to the idea that love is not weakness. And showing love is actually a superpower for a lot of men who were raised rough and tough. That's all I want. I just want my dudes to remember love, even when you're angry. Can you be angry in a loving way such that even if you're admonishing your kids, they remember the love and not the madness? Then you're building something. And remember, if you walk into the TV room and the kids walk out, it's time to have a conversation. Why are they scared of you?
And that's how we're going to end this podcast. Guys, we're out. I'm saying nothing more.